What if the next heartbeat decides whether Steph gets one more parade down Market Street, or we hand tomorrow's keys to someone else and hope the engine roars when he's no longer driving? What if a single phone call, a single yes or no in a room you, and I will never see, redraws the map of the bay for the next 5 years? Would you trade gravity for certainty, raw power for orchestration, a storm for a laser? Because that's the temperature right now. And if you think this is just another rumor that dies by morning, you're not paying attention. This is the kind of fork in the road that makes group chats go silent, then explode. That brings up old arguments about windows and timelines and who we are when. The ball stops bouncing, and all that's left is trust. Stay locked in, because in the next minutes I'll lay out why this idea is breeding, what the bones of the package are, and how the cap math does or doesn't choke you. How it bends Steph's usage and sharpens Draymond's read tree. How it rewrites our closing five. What it does to Brandon Podziemski and Moses Moody. What it says about Andrew Wiggins and the staff's tolerance for variance. How it plays against the West's biggest wings. And yes, whether this is actionable reality or just a very loud heartbeat on a monitor that makes everyone lean closer. Two futures, both plausible, both seductive. By the end, you'll feel in your chest which one you believe in. You're tuned to Warriors News Fan Report. If Dub Nation is in your blood, hit subscribe, drop a like, turn on the alerts. We do this exactly because we refuse to pick between emotion and IQ. We live in the middle, where the game really happens. Let's set the table with zero sugar. The post-Clay reality check is blunt. You still have the greatest space bender in basketball sprinting off actions at an age when normal humans are stretching hamstrings just to tie shoes. You still have a genius small ball five whose handoffs are a polygraph for defenders and whose anticipation on the back line lets five guys play like six. You still have a coaching staff committed to read and react motion that punishes naps and rewards eye contact. And you still have a fan base that physically rejects dull possessions. The question has never been, can Steph still carry? The question is, who makes the ecosystem sing so every split cut matters and every decoy actually hurts? Last season, and you felt this, told us two things at once. Jonathan Kuminga can put a shoulder through a wall and finish through arms and elbows like they were streamers. And the motion machine coughs when your primary wing needs the ball to find rhythm. That isn't slander. It's fit. The dynasty was engineered on guys who murder you without dribbles. Screen, slip, relocate, catch, splash. If you're a 40% threat on volume, if you defend across actions, you bend the chessboard for Steph without grabbing the board with two hands. If you also jump out of the gym and pressure the rim like it owes you rent, you're a unicorn. But unicorns need fields. And space is the rarest currency in the Bay Dots, so here we are. Say the quiet part loud. The framework that keeps surfacing is clean and terrifyingly logical. Warriors get Trey Murphy 3. Pelicans get Jonathan Kuminga and future first heavy ones, not charity. That's the skeleton. The muscle is timing, protections, and how it touches your books over the next 3 summers. Why is the basketball argument so loud? Because Murphy is the exact shape this system flatters into a weapon. A long wing who relocates as if he was raised in the church of split action, who shoots on balance without needing to dribble the air out of the ball, who closes out under control and guards up a spot, who can be a slot lift safety valve or the weak side dagger, who turns Steph's gravity into math you can see on the scoreboard without begging for 15 touches first. He's portable. He doesn't fight your geometry. He completes it. On the other hand, Kuminga is younger, scarier in the open floor. A living middle pick-and-roll answer when the set dies and the shot clock is threatening. And he draws contact like contact owes him an apology. You don't trade that lightly, and if you attach first, you're not just moving a player. You're trading away the right to be wrong about your own development story. Ball first. Imagine horns into a split. Draymond at the nail. Steph ghosts. Podziemski dives. Weak side tagger hesitates for half a blink. Murphy's already lifted on time to the slot window. Ping no dip, no shuffle, just rise and fire. The thing about Trey is that the catch to release is a sentence without commas. The feet talk to the eyes talk to the hands, and the mechanics respect the pass. Spain action? Screen the screener, force a backline panic, short roll to Dre, weak side corner becomes a trap. Murphy is the trap. He's also the remedy to the late clock poison where a smart team overplays Steph 2 steps beyond the arc. Park Trey a step above the break and your emergency outlet becomes a 3. Defensively, he's long enough to contest a bigger wings gather without fouling, quick enough to peel switch on the guards in love, and calm enough to execute the 2 hands high closeout this staff lives by. He runs shooters off the line but doesn't give runway. You feel the coherence of it, right? It's not sexy on paper. It's brutal and may. Now flip the reel to Kuminga. If you want force, he is a thunderclap. Middle PNR, short clock, empty corner. He eats space like it's warm bread. One jab, one power dribble, and either you foul or you pray. In transition, he's not a finisher. He's an event. And this year we saw the read sharpen. The kick to the back-cutting guard, the pocket feed to a big flashing, even the patience to punish a low man who guesses. That's not a promise. That's tape. The tension is where his best self needs touches to build rhythm, to impose instead of merely react, while the Warriors at their best are a symphony of half beats and shared oxygen. Some nights those worlds braid perfectly. His downhill gravity collapses. The ball pings, the threes rain, and you go to bed grinning. Other nights, the gears grind, the corners get dusty, and the machine looks like it's coughing on its own aesthetic. That's the nerve this idea pokes without apology. Money time, because romance doesn't pay taxes. Murphy lives on a number that says starter on a contender, which is exactly what you want when Steph's clock is a drum you can hear through walls. He doesn't need creation reps to justify that slice of your sheet. He earns it by existing in the exact pockets your offense creates. Kuminga, by contrast, is on the edge of the contract that defines what you are around him. If that AV climbs, as talent does, you're not just making room on the ledger. You're choosing a development arc with real opportunity costs. You can absolutely build that way. Slide him into guaranteed reps. Skulk package after package that feature his downhill teeth. Live through the turnovers that are really tuition payments, and accept that some regular season nights are laboratories. But every extra dollar you pay for the lab is a dollar that needs data. If instead you flip to Murphy, you're buying roll certainty. You're buying that your worst shooting nights are less bad, that the hard counters against Steph get just a shade softer, that Draymond's decision tree gets an extra branch with healthy leaves. And then there are the picks. 2 firsts on a memo. They're a manifesto. They say you're living in steps now, that you're willing to dull your draft blade because spacing and wing size and discipline are the exact tools that win when the air gets thin. You can haggle protections and swaps and emergency exits, but you aren't sneaking past the reality that this is expensive. Series win or die time, because banners don't care about spreadsheets. Against jumbo forward engines who dribble holes in the floor at the nail, Murphy's length and footwork let you stay home more often, keep the backbreak corner from turning into an 4 drip. Against guard-heavy teams who love 45 cuts and pull-ups, he switches, peels, and recovers, then punishes any cross-match by living as a shooting threat you can't help off without writing a confession. Offensively in playoff time, discipline is a weapon. Run the same action 4 times in a row and wait for the blink. Murphy doesn't blink. His shot profile stays honest and clutch. That steadies you. And we have to be adults. No elite standstill shooter's gravity covers what a self-creating wing can salvage when a possession goes septic, and it's you, a man, and 8 seconds. Kuminga can be that somebody. An entire series swing on somebody. Let's talk rotation pictures, because that's where this gets tactile. Opening group with Steph, Podziemski, or a defense-first guard who screens like a big. Murphy, Wiggins, and Draymond is geometry you can teach to a wall. Early offense. Drag screen into an empty side DHO pod snakes. Steph relocates. Murphy lifts. The tag is late. The net moves. The building rises. Second unit minutes are where Trey's portability shines. You don't need to babysit him with touches to keep his pulse up. 2 clean looks and the spacing breeze for everyone else. Late game. The closing 5 becomes opponent-dependent but cleaner. If the other side is small, Murphy at 3. If they're lumbering, he slides the stretch 4 and you run them in circles. That's a toy box. And the knock-ons? Wiggins feels the mirror consistency marries minutes. Moody gets a living curriculum in off-ball craft. Podziemski gets cleaner outlets and more hockey assists. Draymond inhales oxygen because every extra foot of space turns his reads into instant messages. Steph gets a runway that feels like an apology for every junk defense he's endured. Cost column, clean and cool. You live with the scar if Kuminga becomes a star elsewhere, and you will feel it in your bones on any night he detonates wearing not our colors. The picks you ship are flexibility you do not have later when you need cost-controlled injections, and the cap picture that looked navigable turns into a jigsaw where every piece is a little sharper. Culture isn't a throwaway either. Kuminga is loved in that building for the work, for the edge. Moving him would hurt good people. But fit is a culture choice too. Players who raise each other's decisions are a culture investment, not just cap lines. 2 futures. In A, you pull it off. Chase Center learns the angle of a new release. The offense hums, and the defense adds one more malleable body you trust across coverages. The closing 5 writes itself more often. The cost stings. The fit soothes. In B, you say no. You bet on the storm learning the city, on the handle continuing to tighten, on the corner 3 hardening from respected, don't you dare. On refined sets that feed his downhill violence without making the ball sticky. On a year where you split the atom fit plus growth. If he pops here in our jersey, you don't just win now. You insulate the future from the day Steph finally becomes mortal. That path is beautiful and brave, and it asks for patience in a league that tries to rent it by the hour dot. Is this real or hot air? It's real in the only way that matters before anything hits the wire. Both teams can explain to themselves why they'd say yes and why they'd hang up, and the league can sketch the outline without laughing. Don't get fooled by fake podiums, but don't pretend the fit argument will stop echoing. It won't. Something somewhere will force a decision, even if that something is simply time. And because fandom isn't a spreadsheet, let's be honest about the heart. Dub Nation fell in love with upside when role players turned into killers under the hottest lights. We also fell in love with fit when every piece once moved like a sentence with perfect punctuation. This debate makes you choose which love you trust right now. Neither side is dumb. You're either hearing the clean thunk of a catch-and-shoot 3 riding Steph's gravity to glory, or you're seeing a bleak 2-minute stretch in late May where nothing works and the only oxygen in the building is a young man putting his head down and getting 2 feet in the paint. The West is a wing war. Size that shoots and guards is mandatory. The NBA is also a creators league at the very top. Someone has to break the shell when the play dies. Both truths. That's why this argument feels like a coin you can't stop flipping. Here's where I plant a flag you can drag me for later. If the price is Kuminga plus 2 unprotected firsts, I pass. That's too much future for a fit that, while borderline perfect in this system, doesn't come with top-shelf self-creation insurance. If there's real protection on 1 pick and honesty on swaps, or the outgoing pieces pivot in a way that keeps 1 first in your pocket, I lean yes. Because Murphy is exactly the kind of night-to-night force multiplier. This offense turns into 8 in quiet points and 5 loud, helpful decisions, without touching the ball much. Steph deserves the cleanest runway we can pour. But all in with the full boat and no life jacket, I keep the kid. I bet on the gym we built to finish the job we started. I bet on the storm learning the map of the city we love. Now it's your turn. Would you send the package if 1 pick is protected, or do you hang up and double down on development? Would you tweak names around the edges to keep the draft drawer from going bare? Or do you think certainty next to Steph is priceless for the next 2 springs? Drop your take below. Argue like family, not enemies. The best part of this channel is that Dub Nation can think hard and feel harder at the same time. If you ride with this team the way we do, make sure you're subscribed and the bell is on, because the next push notification from the Bay's front office might hit mid-dinner and blow up the quiet. When it does, we'll be here 15 minutes later with the film, the fit, the money, and the truth, even when it hurts. And my last word, from the gut, I can see the beauty of Trey in blue and gold, the way the floor widens and the decisions quicken. But I also see the courage it takes to keep your own lightning and teach it to strike exactly where you point. If the room demands my vote at a price that empties the drawer, I say no and trust our work. If the ass respects a future we still have to build, I say yes for Steph and for the style of basketball that made us fall in love in the first place. Your move, Dub Nation. Tell me which world you want to live in.